Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kumar Kiani, and you are watching The Echo on Channel 21 if you have Time Warner, and Channel 811 if you are using Cincinnati Bell cable. This show is very different from any other talk show that you have ever seen, at least in this area. Let me point out something, and the logo and motto of this show is the information that they don't want you to know. So if you're expecting us to bring the usual goody two shoes information, then I suggest you switch the channel and watch something else. But if you're interested to know what is being hidden from you, then I totally encourage you to stay tuned and stay around and don't go anywhere, because we've got lots of information to share. In other words, this is a show for everyone and no one. For everyone, if you are interested in knowing what's going on, and for no one if you're not interested. Tonight we have a little bit different show, because for the first time Sam Lagulo, the producer of this show, also is on. Sam, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Q.
Welcome.
Good to be back
welcome.
on
Thank
the show
you.
with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping us, and for all these years he has been patiently helping us. So here he is, the man behind the scene.
Yeah, Media Bridges in Cincinnati got shut down, and thankfully Mike was able to get us a sponsor down here in Kentucky.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Mike. So what's it been, like 3 years?
Yes, it has been about 3 years, I guess. Well, yeah. Almost.
But the technology is upgraded about 20 years.
Yes,
so.
Yes, the technology is higher. You can see us in HD now, rather than...
They don't broadcast in HD.
Yeah,
they don't give that privilege to public access, even though they have the proper equipment and everything.
Exactly, but the fact of the matter is, at least on YouTube, and what I was talking about was, like, the so-called social medias, like they can see us in HD now.
Yes, indeed they can.
Wonderful. So what's going on? I mean, last time we couldn't finish what we started. I couldn't make sense out of the stuff that I was talking, because it was so huge. Like, I don't know where to start. What's going on, Sam? What do you think?
There's a lot of talking, and there was a lot of videos, and we only got to about half the videos. They were pretty interesting, actually. At least now that you'll be able to see and hear them while everybody else does.
Sure.
So remind everybody and myself.
Sure.
What exactly what we were getting at?
Well, last time many of my faithful audience actually asked me what the heck was going on at the end of the show. Again, we started talking about there is something cynical going on in this country. When we started this country in 1776, what the founding fathers had in mind was very different from what you're seeing today. And I'm not just talking about the culture, is economy, education, everything, almost everything. And we were kind of trying to investigate without being politically correct. Because when you are politically correct, you cannot find out, because you're biased, you have a biased mind. You're prejudiced, you're afraid, you self-censor. This is not Soviet Union. This is still United. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
There now.
Yeah, exactly. It's going that way. We're trying to stop it before it's too late. Before, the globalists round us up and say, hey, welcome to Camp FEMA. We're trying to, remind you who you are, remind you what your culture really is, your culture, your education, and your economy, because this is not capitalism. Because everybody started like saying, oh, capitalism failed. This is not capitalism. This is by far the monopoly, by far is the most similar to the communism.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
we're
what is communism? Government monopoly. Government monopoly. They have one factory.
True.
You know, that they make one type of car or two type of cars, and you know, there is no competition, there is nothing is going on. Everybody
centralized authority.
Exactly.
That everything is, you know, going towards.
So we want to remind you what the dynamic system of economy was, what was the education, what was the culture of this, you know, most people in this land. I don't care, you know, how many minorities got into this country, but the minorities need this country. It's not the other way around. We don't need minorities. So you better, if you come from planet, you know, Mars or whatever, you better start adjusting yourself with this culture. It's not the other way around. But
but diversity is our strength, Q.
Oh. All right. Okay. The diversity, when they talk about, is basically chaotic situation.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm the person who love to go and try different foods. I mean, I love to go and check out foods from Eastern Europe, from India, from Far East. But that's a huge difference. Yes, you could have diversity in certain things, but when we are talking about the common culture of this country,
right,
was founded by Caucasian men, and they were very clear about what was going on back then. They were very clear about the basically Caucasian and Indo-European culture. But gradually we got kind of off track from that culture.
And I'll just say that culture, you know, is loved around the world. It's appreciated.
Sure.
But when you, and then I'm kind of helping you make your point
Sure,
here.
sure.
Like when you're bringing in people that hate that culture, it's going to cause that chaos you were talking about.
Absolutely.
And it's not really going to help this country out or the people living in it.
Absolutely, absolutely, because the reason that this country was number one was because of that harmony that existed. If you want to finish one country, what you do, raise the basically the common culture, you know, get rid of the respect for the culture of that country, and make a mockery out of it. Really, you have seen in the popular culture,
You
like
must own slaves, Q.
what is it?
You must be a slaveholder, like our founding fathers.
Exactly, exactly. But seriously, you know, in that previous episode, we started talking about this, and I really, I'm not anti anything. So you probably might think I'm anti-Semite or whatever. I'm not anti anything. I'm just pro Indo-European culture, because Indo-European culture, with hard work, with relying on hard work and agriculture and other inventions, like who made the vehicle? You know, a German dude in Germany, you know, he did that. Who made the first airplane? Again, like two Caucasian men, and you know, so.
And let's just say it's not a culture that's necessarily race exclusive.
No.
You know, people who appreciate working hard and receiving benefits from their own hard work.
Absolutely.
You know, could fit into this culture.
Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, calling names and, you know, trying to blame and put the blame on our culture is a little bit, you know, out of ordinary. And we want to find out who is behind the chaotic situation, who is really consider other nations and other races really the two-legged animals. This is what I was trying to find out. And I did lots of research. I couldn't understand our banking system and monetary system because it was really, it was not, definitely was not something that the founding fathers had in mind.
In fact, they forbid a national bank.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And there was a good reason for that. Because this country, when it was founded, it was based on the individual liberty or freedom. When you have this collectiveness, when you have this, semi-communist system, you take away the
right. In other words, this country was set up as a republic.
Exactly.
A democratic republic.
Exactly.
And now we have a communistic system calling itself democracy. Democracy is the key word. Democracy is basically just another word for communism.
Absolutely.
Now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll just reiterate, in a republic, an individual cannot have his rights taken away.
Exactly.
In this type of democracy, people can decide, well, Q, we don't like what you're saying, so we're going to shut you up.
Exactly.
Exactly. If the majority or an appearance of the majority says we don't want you to talk anymore, then they can shut you up.
Exactly. Let me give you a little bit of history about Europe and in the European countries. We always welcome other people from other races, Chinese, all people, even from Africa, We invited them, we encouraged them to work and do business, as long as they didn't try to tell us what to do or what not to do, okay?
And then I'll just make this point. What other countries would invite people of other races into their own country?
I don't
Do they do that in Africa?
No,
do they
not
do that
really.
In Asia?
Not really.
Do they do that in the Middle East?
No, like in Japan, they kick you out. Like you're not welcome over there very much.
The Indo-European or Aryan or white or whatever you want to classify. The European race as. There's this liberal, or I guess I should say, left-wing push to classify them as like the most evil thing in the world, the most oppressive people. When we're so intolerant, we're actually. History shows, and if you look around the world, we're actually the most tolerant.
Absolutely, absolutely. And those who are pointing at us as racist actually turn out to be the racist ones. And they try to hide it very much. They have been keeping this information to themselves for generations and keeping these books inside of the vault. However, today you can go to, let's say Jewish Studies in Cincinnati and try to, if you insist, they would show you one of the versions of their documents, which is called Talmud.
Talmud, yes, and I'll help explain the Talmud. Basically, the Talmud is what most Jews today, who are practicing Jews, would follow. There's a misconception among many Christians that they follow the Old Testament or Torah.
Yeah.
But that's not the case today. I mean, that's
absolutely,
to them, that's an antiquated set of myths.
Exactly.
The Talmud is what they consider the practical application of everyday life of the Torah.
Exactly.
And it's much, much bigger than the Torah. Although there's a little caveat. Sometimes the Talmud is referred to as the Torah for that reason, but it's really two different things.
They call it new Torah. They call it new Torah. They say like that was the old Torah. That covenant and promise is finished. This is the new, basically, promise. This is the new, basically Torah. Talmud is the practical application of Torah. So many people think that most Jews. I'm talking about practicing Jews. I'm not talking about someone. I had a friend who go out with me, even surprisingly, would eat pork, I'm not talking
That's
about...
not a practicing Jew.
Yeah, he's not a practicing... I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about most practicing ones. they actually, or especially the heads of the corporations, the financial institutions, they don't care about which son Abraham wanted to, sacrifice. They don't care about the stories like that anymore. They care about what Talmud, tells them to do. Curious, basically, point over here. What exactly is Talmud? Is it, talking about spirituality? Is it none of that? You're not gonna believe. It's all about finances. It's all about who is the superior race on earth. Mm-hmm. It's a racist book about finances, like how you can enslave other nations, basically.
No, I've never read the Talmud. In fact, how many volumes are in the Talmud? Like 80 something? Or?
Yeah, it's huge, and depends. Like if you're talking about Babylonian Talmud or which one you're referring to, that's another question. But I'm talking about the general Talmud. That it has.
Well, because I've read that the Talmud pretty much covers everything, but I guess that's more like the Babylonian or something. And,
yes, okay. And Professor Michael Hoffman, he is a scholar in Christianity. He does have books and lectures. The lectures are available on YouTube, and he answered, to one of the prominent, rabbinic scholars from Israel. Like he tried to say, whoever talks bad about Talmud is is a Nazi, and that's not the case. That's not the case. You're going to be very surprised. It has nothing to do with being an Aryan or Indo-European. Even a black person can be called names, can be called, even if you're a Jew, and still you bring up the, because I do have that. I wish I would have sent it to you last week, but
well, you'll be surprised about how the Talmud talks about you.
Yeah, exactly. You would be very surprised because it starts from the word goyim, and everyone thinks that, so what is goyim? What's the big deal?
That's, I guess, like the Yiddish or Hebrew word for Gentile, which means non-Jew.
Non-Jew, but no.
The literal translation of it is chattel.
Yeah.
As in cattle or sheep. Basically they're calling us animals.
Yes, two-legged animals. And what they are saying is that you guys are just like a herd. You guys are just like sheep. And you need to be milked. You need to be used in any way they want. Basically, and in that book is commanding to the real good Jew what to do. It says, make him corrupted, because then, you take away the family from them, make him corrupted financially and also, sexually, and the cheat, financially, cheat them out. If you can sell them something 10 times more, do that, because it's a good thing. Because enslave them. The word enslaving is in it. Defeat them. Rape their women, rape their children. The more, the better. And it says basically, a Jew can kill a goyim or a Gentile, and in the eyes of their court and justice, is just like killing an animal. Mm-hmm. Nobody's responsible for anything. But God forbid, if it is the other way around, then you're in deep trouble.
And people at this point are probably asking, why are we picking on Jews so much? But it's not just that they have this Talmud, that says these things about us. It's basically this religion, that it's a race-based, elitist religion.
Exactly.
Where they feel they're superior to everybody else. It's not just that. They're actually, in control of the reins of the world.
Exactly.
As far as we can tell. And if it's somebody else really doing it, they're very successful as using the Jews as a front.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, again, if you're just a, you know, God-loving Jew who goes to synagogue, and, you know, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, you know, I wonder about it, like, how much does the average Jew actually know about what the things we're talking about? You know, because I honestly don't believe that most of them have this much contempt for us.
No, and lots of them didn't even know that. Lots of them, when I talked to them, they couldn't believe it until I referred them to their own library, and they pull out the book and they were like, yeah, you're right, like, we didn't know that. We did not. And then there is a rabbi, actually, I forgot to send you the video, that analyzed the Talmud and says how, you know, he is really ashamed of this, and this is not what Judaism was all about in the past.
Right. You know, we're basically talking about the Jewish elite. We're not talking about the average Jew.
I'm not talking about.
Although there is a problem in that, you know, the average Jew will support the Jewish elite.
That is correct.
But a lot of that is out of fear,
yes,
because they've been trained to think that,
yes,
you know, the whole world hates them.
Exactly.
And when guys like you and me come out and say these things, you know, maybe they think we want to throw them in ovens or something.
Exactly.
But that's not really the case. We're trying to expose the Jewish elite and who's running the world.
Yes.
And this stuff needs to be brought out in the open, or else we could end up like Russia when they went under the communist revolution, and you've got tens of millions of people dying.
Exactly. And you know what? Everybody is welcome in this country, and most in the European countries and Aryan countries, as long as they don't plot against the people of that country. But once that happens, you know, we as citizens have rights to expose them. It doesn't matter what their religion is. Even, let's just say, like Buddhists start doing the same thing, which they would never do that, but I'm just saying hypothetically,
right.
If they do that, they need to be exposed. Or if, let's say, Hindus want to do that, they need to be exposed. So it's not really about, you know...
Which I guess will kind of lead into Islam. Maybe not right now, but we will have to get into that because...
absolutely.
It's a problem, and it's more of a problem now than what it was.
Absolutely.
And it is tied into Judaism.
Absolutely.
I don't want to take you off track, but if you want to get on that, you can, or you can go back to what you were going before.
No, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, I just get off the internet fighting with a bunch of people because of the shooting in Orlando. You see, this Talmud, you know, is a bad teacher, and it has a student. The student is Quran, because if you go to the Talmud, verse by verse, and compare everything that says how to get rid of the Goyim, is exactly like Quran that talks about infidels. Over there you have Goyim, over here you have infidels. And infidels in Quran is almost like whoever doesn't believe in their way, it technically is a good prey to be hunted down and to be killed, and they can do whatever you want to do with them, exactly like Talmud. You know, you rape their children, you know, tie them up, you know, cut their throats, you know, do whatever you want to do with them.
You were telling me before that in a conversation we were having off camera, that Islam is actually a lot more like Judaism than Christianity is.
Absolutely.
And people in this country having the impression that, you know, Jews and Muslims are, you know, mortal enemies. And you know what? At the lower level, I guess they are. That's the impression. Well, but, I mean, I'll go ahead and say this, like in the greater scheme of things, they're using the Muslims to reform the Europeans.
Yeah. Yes.
And you know, and Americans in Australia. And in fact, maybe I'm getting off track here.
No, you're absolutely right on the money.
Talk about immigration here, and well, this goes back to what we started talking about earlier on, about, you know, you have this Indo-European culture, and it's, you know, hard work and the benefits from your hard work, and there's immigration, and you're bringing in people who don't agree with that, and they're also being agitated against it. Well, you've got all these Muslims going into Europe. Now you've got them coming into America. And who's controlling our immigration policy?
Exactly.
The Jewish elite.
Exactly.
And I thought it was going to be, they're going to do this with Mexicans over here. I thought, people keep talking about Muslims are going to get us, Muslims are going to get us. And I thought, well, that's Europe's problem. That's Australia's problem. That's not our problem here. Well,
it is now.
They've opened the floodgates to Islam. Nothing makes sense anymore until you understand they're actually bringing our country down, not just our country, but Europe.
Absolutely.
And any European type state.
Exactly. Let me tell you something about this, because as an Iranian, let me explain a little. Iran or Iran, on the contrary to what you have been heard, doesn't mean Islam, doesn't mean Arab, doesn't mean any of that. Iran basically means land of Aryans or land of Indo-Europeans.
So you're not an Arab?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not that. Surprisingly, I'm not. But what happened, how they infiltrated in our culture and that's a long story. But let me tell you something about, the Muslim and Iran in 1979 and the takeover of Islam in Iran. Because before 1979, Iran had a king, Shah of Iran. And, even though he was, we still don't know if he was really Muslim or not. At least he was pretending that he was a Muslim, because honestly, I don't believe he was a Muslim, because he was not following any of their rules, and he was taking back Iran to before Islam. But let me tell you something. Nobody believed that Iran would be in the hand of Muslims and Islam maybe a week before the revolution. But let's see what happened. The liberals, the communist sympathizers, they said, oh, you're prosecuting these poor Muslims. Give them the freedom, give them the liberty. Iran stands for this, Iran stands for that. What is wrong with you, Shah of Iran? And guess what happened? Yes, they took over, and the Muslims were acting, oh, we're poor, we just want freedom for everybody, we guarantee freedom for. They took over. The moment
How much freedom do they have now?
Nothing, even not for themselves. What happened the first thing, let me tell you something. Do you know what they did after 1979, the so-called revolution? The first thing that they did was asking people to give their guns up. Give it up. The moment people did that, they're like, oh, they're so peaceful. Guess what? They were able to, take over everything because of that, because nobody could fight with them anymore.
Only they had the guns.
They had the monopoly. Welcome to they're tricky. So when you say that, how they, infiltrating the, Europe, because they want to dismantle the Caucasian Indo-European culture completely, racially and culturally.
Genetically, they want. They actually want to get rid of the white race.
Exactly.
Because the elite see the white race as a potential threat.
Absolutely.
That could usurp them, or
absolutely,
or maybe just give them trouble. But they want to mix them with the other races because they feel that they'll be easier to control that way.
Absolutely. Because when you want to, implement a new culture, you have to get rid of the old culture. And genes, believe it or not, does memorize your culture. You don't know how you know things, but you just know it. Have you been like that? This is because your DNAs and genes, they do have memories too. And I'm talking about historical memories. So they want to
epigenetics.
Epigenetics, thank you. Yeah.
That's the term for it.
Yep. Very good. So they want to get rid of all of that and establish this new culture that, you know, basically it was a wrong interpretation of something else. When they talk about this brown race, that everybody should marry everybody and make this brown race, I talk about it in some other day. It goes back to Gnosticism. And in Gnosticism, you're talking about pre-Christianity Gnosticism. And they were talking about something totally different, because they said God's particles are in form of pearl. And every one of us has that pearl. But this pearl goes to the brown, which is flesh or the soil. And the more it gets mixed, the more God's particles get mingled with this materialistic world. So it was a totally different misinterpretation of Gnosticism. That's why pearl also in Freemasonry is so important. Like if you take a look at, you know, even this gas company, the petroleum company, Shell, you know, you can see that Shell by itself is the representation of that light, which is, you know, holding the pearl, which is the God's or divine particle.
So, but, like, what I'm gathering is basically what it's saying is that God made us distinct, right?
Yes.
And, you know, in a beautiful way.
Yes.
And the more that we mix, the more we dilute that distinctness and we become soiled.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that was a bad misinterpretation by the elite. They didn't understand what this was all about. It was not about destroying the Caucasian and Indo-European culture or Aryan culture. It was about humanity. It was about how you're interacting with this world. So it was about that. It was more about spirituality than really physical mingling. So you're absolutely right that Talmud not only had this bad effect on you know, Europe, but also they have their cousins. Because any of you who say, but Muslims always fight with the Jews. Yes, it's just like in any family, like cousins necessarily don't get along. Or sometimes you see an uncle and nephew don't get along. You know, doesn't mean that they're not related, they're related. They might even fight. Like, take a look at history. Like how many uncles actually killed their nephews because of what? Power. Because they wanted to be the only king.
Very common in
and then,
histories.
Exactly. And then let me tell you about the history of Islam. Islam came out of Judaism. You're not going to believe. Because if you go back, you can go and do the research by yourself tonight. Muhammad, from mother's side, was a Jew. Her mom was a Jewish person. And you know the rule, if your mom is a Jew, you're automatically a Jew. They prayed towards Jerusalem. They never prayed towards Mecca at first. They held fasting exactly like Jews. They didn't eat pork, which they don't, up to now, they don't eat pork. And they dislike dogs. You don't know about Jews, but Hasidic Jews don't keep dogs. That's another thing that you don't know. And so they were basically a new sect of Judaism. Islam was a different or new sect of Judaism, really.
Right.
And just like any other, you know, new sect, sometimes the little sect eat up the, you know, bigger religion, you know, because they want to say, we're the only one, we're better than our own master, you know. So,
well,
you know,
I guess I should tell you about the videos I brought today.
Okay, yes.
They're basically on immigration.
Okay, wonderful.
Who's pushing immigration
wonderful.
in our country and in Europe and et cetera.
Wonderful.
And what their opinion of immigration is in Israel.
All right, let's watch that.
Okay.
Let's watch that.
Go do that.
Thanks for...
I'll start the video as soon as I can.
All right, thanks. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a different kind of show because our producer is actually with us today on the show. And unfortunately, right now we don't have any help. Pretty soon we will, get help from the different people who voluntarily want to help us. But for now, it's just me and Mr. Sam Lugulo. I hope.
And in parenthesis, let me tell you this, that throughout the entirety of my time underground in South Africa under apartheid, every house I slept in, every dinner I ate, every car I drove in was provided by Jewish activists of the African National Congress. Dennis Goldberg, Albie Sachs, Joe Slovo, Ruth First. Perhaps you've heard of these people. If you haven't, look them up.
I've always believed that Britain is a country of migrants. I'm Jewish. Some of my family came in the late 19th century. I'm Sephardi on my mother's side.
The leaders of the socialist, communist, trade union, liberal, Enlightenment, throughout the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, were great Jews. Marx himself was a Jew.
The Liberal Democrats will always stand up for a Britain that is open, tolerant and diverse. And in that spirit, I very much welcome the Jewish European Election Manifesto, calling for a strengthening of EU hate crime legislation, stood up for the right of the Jewish community to practice shechita. As a party, we wholeheartedly value the relationship we have with the Jewish community, both in Britain and internationally.
Israel has a powerful stranglehold on the American government. They control both members of the House and the Senate. They have us involved in wars of which we have little or no interest. Our children are coming back in body bags. Our nation is bankrupt over these wars. And if you open your mouth, you get targeted.
We went to war against a guy who had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. It was a total pretext. It's inexplicable. And there you go to Cheney, there you go to Bush, there you go to the Jewish neocons who wanted to remake the world. Maybe I can say that because I'm Jewish.
I'm saying this to you right now. Israel gets approximately $15 billion a year from the American taxpayers. That $15 billion is $30,000 for every man, woman, and child. And people in my district are losing their pension benefits. It's an objective assessment that no one will have the courage to speak about. They're controlling much of our foreign policy. They're influencing much of our domestic policy. Wolfowitz, as Undersecretary of Defense, manipulated President Bush #2 back into Iraq. They pushed definitely to try and get Bush before he left to move into Iran. We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it. They control much of the media, they control much of the commerce of the country, and they control powerfully both bodies of the Congress.
No doubt that within the occupied territories, Palestinian land, that there is a horrendous example of apartheid. The persecution of the Palestinians now under the occupied territories is under the occupation forces is one of the worst examples of human rights deprivation that I know. People in this country, in America, never know about this. They never discuss this. There's no debate about it. There's no criticism of Israel.
Hollywood is run by Jews. It's owned by Jews.
In Germany, isn't the situation there indicative of the rest of the European continent, where we're actually seeing the EU expanding more and more? How do you now see the future of the issue of immigration developing now across the whole of the European continent, based on what you're seeing there in Germany?
This is a very good point, because immigration is the future.
The British model is actually being pushed to its limits now. There's a very high level of ethnic mix in Sweden. I think it stands at about 15%. And people are saying Sweden can't withstand this anymore.
So you have to really make a good policy of immigration all over Europe. You have to really change the policy of immigration inside Europe. This is very important. You have to adapt the educational system and adapt all the self-understanding of the states. They are not anymore only white or only Swedish or only Portuguese or only German. They are multicultural places.
The current wave of anti-Semitism in Sweden will pass, and that Jews have an important role to play in a country undergoing profound change.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching The Echo on Channel 21, Channel 811, and also YouTube and Facebook. Welcome back. This show is about a very, very sensitive information they don't want you to know. And that is how, this sleazy group of people plotted against Indo-European people in Europe and also in the United States now, today. You can blame anyone as long as you want, but we have to pinpoint the problem and we have to find out who is behind what. Thank you, Sam, for that, selecting that video.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I don't know how to start it. As you noticed,
well, we were
yes.
talking about it, what was going on, and well, we just gave you some examples right there.
Yes. Yes.
And there's many more. This is just something I found, in the few hours I had before the show.
Yes.
I can. In the future, I should take time to even, find more stuff and edit it together. And
exactly.
We can illustrate our points.
Yes.
And we won't just pick on the Jews every show, but.
Yeah, this has just happened because of the immigration. Because I found that they were the encourager of that. They actually started bringing lots of different people into this country, which is fine. I'm not saying, I'm from a different country, but. So
as my father is as well.
Yeah, exactly. But we assimilated with this culture and respected this culture, and we really didn't have much of a problem with the core of this culture,
Right.
We love this culture and we protect it. That's a huge difference between a Muslim who call America the great Satan and it still is in this country. I don't understand what the heck you're doing in this country. Why don't you go to Saudi Arabia and live there? Because apparently they have more money than us, Saudi Arabians.
Oh, but they wouldn't let some dirty poor Muslim from another country have any of their oil money.
Yeah, exactly. They're smarter than you think. But the fact of the matter is, they are taking advantage from your good heart. That's all I'm telling you. And you saw that lady. She is not fooling around. She's talking about multiculturalism, and she's talking about Jews being in the center. Yeah. They're dismantling the European culture. Yep. They're dismantling this Indo-European culture. And
culturally, genetically,
yes,
economically,
and the so-called multiculturalism. Do you know what it is? Homogenizing this whole world and turning it to this, global new world order that they keep talking about. It they keep talking about one. There is no other choices. There is no competition. There is none of that. Have you ever noticed why?
I'll just say this. There's some people that have come up with the phrase, multiculturalism equals white genocide.
Exactly. How about that? Because when you say multiculturalism, is exactly like, you know, because this country has a language, it's English language. You can live in this country, but in order to receive all the benefits that this country can offer, you need to learn this language. We don't care about your background, about the language that you speak or used to speak. You know, so when they talk about multiculturalism, I suppose we're going to speak Esperanto maybe? You know what I'm saying? You know, because it seems like it, because I was just watching Gattaca. Did you know in that movie actually what language was common? I mean, it was Esperanto. It was not
so
like...
that took place in the United States.
Yeah, this is what they're trying to do.
And Esperanto is a mix of English and Spanish, is that right?
No, it's actually multicultural language. It's an artificial language made by Dr. Zamenhof, who was a Polish, but again, you know, he was a Jew. You know, that's just coincidence. Don't listen to me. You know, and he come up with this language. Yes, it is true. You can learn this language in 3 months. That is very true. But the problem is that America has its own culture. Germany has it. If I go, or you go to Germany and want to live over there, you better learn German.
It would be a good idea.
Yeah. Don't force them. I mean, over here we eat pork. Don't come and butt into my yard and tell me, what are you cooking? Don't you know that, you know, pork is bad for you, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I want to eat bad things. None of your business, you know. So this is what is they mean by multiculturalism, that basically, you know, you have a country without its history, without its culture, without its language and everything, and race too, you know.
Everybody at each other's throat.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So
that way they're too distracted from who's actually running the system.
Exactly, exactly. And then, you know, sometimes take a look at your garden. Take a look at the trees in your garden. Don't you think it's so cartoonish if every branch and every leaf in your tree would look the same size, same everything? It would be so ugly if you look at that tree. Or, right. You know, so this is what they're trying to tell us. Everybody should be the same, because that create what? Nothing. That create no dynamic society. Because, let's be honest, what's the meaning of race? We are really racing with each other. Yes, there are different races on this planet for a reason, because every one of us is competing. You know, that's what's the meaning of competition? Progress. Without the because if everybody was the same, you know, what was the, you know, incentive for competition? Everybody looked the same, worked the same, had the same clothes, same food, same store.
Sounds like 1984.
Yeah, sounds like a nightmare to me. You know, I don't want to live in that situation for 1 second.
North Korea.
North Korea.
You want a real life example.
You know, so, you know, basically that was the point of that video. I mean, most of these Jewish lobbyists actually are behind this immigration, you know, policies in countries. And again, you know, I'm not saying that don't, you know, yes, we welcome many nations, but if you come into this country, you need to assimilate. You need to prove that you're faithful to America.
Should,
so,
yeah.
you know, that's my, you know,
that you don't hate this country and you hate the culture and you want to bring it down.
Exactly.
And utterly change it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. You know? I mean, we don't go to your countries and say, hey, you know, what are you doing? Like, you know, why women cannot drive? You know, there's something wrong.
Well,
you never see us going to Saudi Arabia and tell them what to do, you know?
Well, me and you don't, but unfortunately, we've got a military that, well, is controlled by the Jewish elite.
That's true.
That does go around and do these things. We've got a media controlled by the Jewish elite, and it says, like, over there they don't let women drive. Over there they do this. Over there they do that. It's all the way on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Why don't we just leave these people in peace and they can have whatever culture they want instead of provoking them against us?
Exactly.
We've got a military that wars on them, that drops bombs on weddings. Can you imagine having a bomb dropped on a wedding that you were attending and having half your family killed?
Absolutely.
Can you imagine how pissed you would be?
Yes.
And then we do this to these people, and then we let them come over here.
Yes.
Is it any surprise that some of them may actually commit some kind of terrorist attack?
Yeah.
And kill a bunch of people in revenge? I mean, is that really a surprise? I'm not making excuses for them, but it's incredibly idiotic, you know, for us to provoke these people and then bring them over here.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on the money, because you remember last time we played this video, Richard Welch. He was talking about the same thing. He was talking about the U.S. military should come back here and protect America. We have no business being in certain places in Europe or Middle East or
we've got entire oceans between us and them.
Yeah.
We
have no business over there.
Yeah, we've got all the resources we need in this country.
Exactly.
I mean, almost all the resources we need. There's very little that we don't have.
Yeah.
We've got the Atlantic Ocean on our east and the Pacific on our west.
Yeah.
And on our north and our south, we've got a border on our north and a border on our south, and that's all we have to have to defend against border-wise.
Exactly. And then
it would be so easy, especially with the size of our military, the size and the strength and technological capability.
But question, who's running the global military industries?
The Jewish elite.
Sorry.
As far as we can tell, there are those that say that they're using the Jewish elite as a proxy.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we are amateurs. We're not professionals.
Yes.
But the people who talk about the Jewish elite, they have no trouble naming names. And then those that say they're just using it as a proxy, they rarely ever name names. You hardly, one name or two names.
I can name, but again, this show is not about, bringing out the names, because I don't even know if the person that I'm naming, maybe he's the front person, and because the important people are very, camera shy. They never show their faces. Am I right? I mean, you have confronted some of these people here and there, but we never see some of the, especially like when the Bilderberg is going on, you don't know, like half of these people, who are these people?
Right.
Yeah, some of them, it's like Hillary Clinton, but, I started like spelling her name with K now. But, but other than that, like most of them, we don't even know who they are. These are the people who are running the whole show, and surprisingly, they are the devotee of Talmud. They are the devotee of Talmud. They don't care about the old-fashioned Torah. All they care about is this Talmud, and you're absolutely right.
Well, I guess the very advanced, practicing Jews, they even go beyond the Talmud and get into the Kabbalah.
Yeah, Kabbalah is even more complicated, system that they have, which is really, if you read it, I mean, when you get a chance, it's all about black magic.
Yeah, that's, I was about to say, I haven't read the Kabbalah either, but from what I understand, it's basically witchcraft.
Exactly.
And how to deceive people and...
Absolutely. They know the connection between, our chakras, our grids, basically they're electromagnetic, grids, throughout our body, which is really connected to the earth grids, because earth does have electromagnetic field. And today scientists finally actually saw the plasma making kind of like a tube, and they detected these tubes. Finally they realized, yes, there is electromagnetic field around earth. So they have this ancient knowledge, which is, by the way, it's not even their own knowledge. It's stolen. That's what they do. They hijack things. So they got this knowledge and basically turn it around, and they're using it. One of the first, show that I, kind of had the privilege to attend on 9/11 Truth, I started talking about the esoteric meaning of 9/11. And back then people thought I was just talking out of my own ass, didn't have, but believe me, if you go back and review the 9/11, the celestial events that, astrology, astronomy, Kabbalah, the building numbers, the building number 1, 2, which was used as the Tower 1 and Tower 2, which is day and night tower. It's called day and night tower. And building number 7, it was the Solomon building, and seal of the Solomon, and so on and so forth. You go and read this Kabbalah and compare everything, and their obsession with number 9 and number 11. This is an obsession that they have, and you can research it yourself. So it's not just you're making assumptions, it's right there in your face. You have to have the courage to just say, hey, the king is nude.
Yeah.
He's nude. We are the first people who are saying that. I hope you start doing the same thing. And
well, I mean, we're giving you a jumping off point to do your own research.
Yeah, exactly. To stimulate your mind and, to make you kind of wonder, hey, what's going on, So there are some other videos.
Well, I tell you what, we've taken a look at,
yes.
What the Jewish elite want to do with immigration in our countries.
Yes.
Should we go ahead and take a look at
absolutely
the Jewish country of Israel, how they look at immigration?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I want to do that because I want to add something about that.
Keep talking.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Like I said, tonight we have a different type of show because the producer Sam Lagula also joined us tonight. We want to finish what we started last week because I feel that I owe you that much. So stay around, don't flip the channel. He's going to run a clip. It's very important to watch that clip. And
Since 2006, about 60,000 Africans have arrived in Israel on harrowing treks through the Sinai Desert, fleeing poverty, persecution, ethnic cleansing, and genocide. As refugee camps across Africa fill up and Europe closes its gates to asylum seekers, Israel became the next best option, accessible by land and said to be a developed democracy. But instead of providing them with safe haven, Israel is both refusing to grant them any benefits and denying them the ability to work legally to support themselves. Faced with poverty and exploitation, a new nightmare unfolded.
עדיין לא מאוחר, אפשר מחר לעשות מעשה, להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
While protests raged in the streets against the presence of asylum seekers from Africa, the man who held the power to determine their fate, Deputy Prime Minister Eli Yishai, demanded their expulsion.
אם ייתנו לי את כל הכלים, ואני פועל להשיג את כל הכלים, וזה לא קל. אם ייתנו לי את כל הכלים בלי יוצא מן הכלל, תוך פחות משנה לא יישאר בארץ ישראל אפילו מסתנן אחד.
And the few isolated Israelis who dared to protest, like this woman, were met with harsh backlash.
תלכי מפה! תלכי! את תשועה עם קושי, לכי! לא מתביישת!
At the anti-African rallies we documented, one figure was ubiquitous, a member of Knesset named Michael Ben-Ari. In August 2010, we interviewed him at his Knesset office.
יש להם שם בית. מה זה גירוש? איזה גירוש? הם שווים הביתה. כל מדינה בעולם מתוקנת הייתה עושה את זה. נהפוך להיות מדינת הגירה, אבל יש כאלה שעוינים את המדינה. ולכן הם רוצים להפוך אותה למדינת אזרחי כל העולם. נביא לפה 1 מיליון אפריקאים, 500,000 פיליפינים, 2-3 מיליון סינים, ושלום על ישראל.
למה זה מאיים שיהיו פה 1 מיליון אפריקאים?
זה מאיים כי לא תהיה פה מדינה יהודית. המדינה שלנו, תקשיב, המדינה שלנו שונה ממדינות אחרות. המדינה שלנו היא מדינה יהודית ודמוקרטית. זה איזון מאוד מאוד לא פשוט, זה יכול להיות תרתי סתרי במקומות מסוימים. זאת אומרת, דברים סותרים זה את זה במקומות מסוימים. במידה ותביא לפה 1 מיליון אפריקאים, היא תחדל מלהיות יהודית. אנחנו נלחמים, לדוגמה, בתופעה של התבוללות. בעולם ישנה התבוללות של 70-80% במקומות מסוימים בעולם. זאת אומרת, עם ישראל הולך לאיבוד. לי עם ישראל יקר.
Ben-Ari is known for leading nationalist marches through Arab neighborhoods inside Israel, where he antagonizes, intimidates, and menaces Arab citizens. On the holiday of Chanukah, Ben-Ari led a rally at Levinsky Park, a public space in South Tel Aviv that has become home to many Africans who were denied work permits and the ability to afford housing.
אנחנו נגיד פה לכל הצבועים האלה, אתם רוצים לעזור לאפריקאים, תיסעו לאפריקה. אתם רוצים לתת להם אוכל, לכו תיתנו להם שם. זאת המדינה היהודית היחידה שיש לנו.
Earlier in the year, at an anti-African rally in Tel Aviv that was attended by thousands, Ben-Ari was joined by lawmakers from the governing Likud party and other mainstream politicians.
אריתריאה וסודאן זה לא כאן. כאן זה הבית שלנו, כאן זו המדינה שלנו. אבל הדבר החשוב ביותר זה לגרש את המסתננים לארץ ישראל ולשמור על מדינת ישראל כמדינה יהודית.
חברים, אני היום במליאה אמרתי, הסודנים הם סרטן בגוף שלנו.
Minutes after the rally, 1,000 Israelis rioted, attacking African homes and businesses and assaulting any African they found in the street. Here is footage shot by one of the participants in the riot, a supporter of Michael Ben-Ari. Days later, Yulia Shmuelov-Belkovich, at the time a legislator from the centrist opposition party Kadima, called for Israelis who advocate for the Africans to be locked in prison camps alongside the asylum seekers.
אני מסכם בדיוק.
דרך אגב, מעבירה אותם גם לאותו מקום שאנחנו בונים עכשיו את המחנות, שיעבדו שם.
According to the Israeli Coalition Against Racism, incidents of racist incitement by Israeli public figures doubled in 2012. In many cases, the targets of their hateful invective were not Palestinians, but African migrants. Chief among those targeting the presence of Africans in Israel is a corps of hundreds of state-appointed rabbis, including some of the premier religious authorities in Israel, who issued a letter forbidding Jews from renting apartments to the African asylum seekers and any other non-Jews. Here is a rabbi that we filmed, one of many who labored to promote the religious edict.
זה מהלך שניסינו פה להוביל בעיר, לא להזכיר להם בתים, לחץ כזה לאחר שדיברנו עם בני הקהילה שלנו והסתובבנו, לנסות להקשות עליהם.
Though painted as an existential threat, the fact remains that Africans in Israel pose no known security threat to the country. None of them have engaged in acts of terrorism against Israel, and very few, if any, hold anti-Israel opinions. Most are eager to contribute to the prosperity and well-being of the country. So why are they being demonized, and why is the government so determined to deport them? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu previously warned that if the level of Arab citizens of Israel exceeds 30% of the general population, Israel could become a binational state and would lose its Jewish character. With tens of thousands of non-Jewish African migrants living in Israel by 2010, Prime Minister Netanyahu warned that their presence increases the looming threat to the Jewish character of the state.
אנחנו הצלחנו לבלום את הכניסה של המסתננים מאפריקה לישראל, אחרי שהיינו באיום של כניסה של מאות אלפים. החודש לא נכנס מסתנן אחד לערי ישראל, זה כבר כמה חודשים שאנחנו משיגים את התוצאה הזאת. בחודש הקרוב אנחנו נשלים את בניית הגדר לאורך גבול סיני, ועכשיו אנחנו עוברים לשלב השני, וזה השלב של החזרת המסתננים שכבר נמצאים כאן.
Already, the Israeli Knesset has amended the Anti-Infiltration Act it passed in 1954 to prevent Palestinian refugees from returning to their property. Under the new version of the law, non-Jewish migrants can be arrested on site and held in prison without trial for 3 years or more before being deported. To hold the migrants and asylum seekers before deporting them, Israel's government has built what it calls an accommodation center in the Negev desert. Blueprints of the center reveal that it will be in fact the largest prison of its kind in any industrialized nation. Currently, about 2,000 Africans languish in the detention center in what human rights groups describe as substandard conditions. This footage we shot outside the prison shows how vast it is. A comprehensive look at the interior of the prison camp has never been presented to the general public. Until the Israeli government is able to resolve the crisis, the chaos in the streets continues. This past New Year's Eve, we followed a mob of ultra-nationalists as they marched through South Tel Aviv, demanding the expulsion of non-Jewish Africans. After the march, the ultra-nationalists gathered at the headquarters of Michael Ben-Ari's Strong Israel Party, and that's when we were recognized as left-wing journalists.
שנחסום את המצלמה. תזכור את הפנים שלו למה הם חיים בהפגנות, כולם יודעים שאני אותו דבר. מי זה? Let's take a better reason.
אז למה הוא עומד פה כמו פוסטמה?
אני חושב שעכשיו את האמת כבר נגמר לו.
למה אתה עומד פה כמו פוסטמה? עם פרצוף של דביל? בטח שהוא...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching The Echo on channel 21 and 811. Also the social media such as YouTube. We are, actually talking about a very sensitive issues here. And I hope you understand why we are doing this, because this country is in a real danger. Culturally, we're going to be dismantled, and economically, we're already there, and we're trying to find out, follow the breadcrumb, and find the criminals behind this plot against our nation, and especially, you know, I'm talking about the Indo-European culture. Now, that was an interesting, very interesting video. I knew about it because I do have, believe it or not, I do have friends from Israel. Well, you know, time to time they disagree with what's going on over there. And they actually give me some really very bizarre information, such as this video. Like, I knew about what's going on. They had the same problem, as a matter of fact, with Ethiopian Jews. Mm-hmm. They still don't consider them as fully Jewish. They're like, yeah, maybe they are semi-Jew, which is very interesting. They look at Iranian Jews the same way.
Well, you know, I've heard they also look at Sephardic Jews the same way to a certain extent. And I was listening to a Republic Broadcasting Network, which is on the internet, and the guy was reading some stuff from a Jewish author, and basically talking about how, like, the Ashkenazis, keep in mind that Judaism is a race-based elitist religion, and the Ashkenazis in Israel often refer to the Sephardic Jews as niggers.
That's interesting.
And basically, like in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, the officer class is largely Ashkenazi, while the grunts are made up of Sephardic Jews. So there's some tension there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you why. That's a long story, but I kind of make it short. I can talk about this for, like, I can write a book about it. But at some point, Jews decide, because real Jews come from the country that known as Iraq or Iraq. They didn't come from space, on the contrary to what they're trying to say, you know, with the spaceship, you know, no. They came out of Iraq, today's Iraq, Mesopotamia. They were a brown race. Sumerian text clearly, you know, talks about blackhead and brown skin. The word Shrots is, you know, at some point, they decided to, you know, change their race, really change their skin pigmentation, because they thought they were always envying Indo-European people and Aryan people, because God bestowed them with, you know, fair skin, you know. So they were kind of always wanted to find out, maybe through epigenetic, but apparently it didn't really work. So their, you know, leaders told them, like, get married to European people, you know, as long as you could, or as much as you could. Like, that's why in Hollywood, if you go back and take a look at all these producers, they have white and Indo-European women or wives, you know, or vice versa. The other way around is also seen among them. So one of their mission was to change the color of their skin. They're very obsessed with being as white as Europeans. Why? Because they want to infiltrate. That's why exactly the word that they use for the Ethiopians and Africans.
Here we call them, our politically correctness, we're supposed to call them undocumented workers, undocumented migrants, undocumented asylum seekers.
Yes.
Anything but illegal aliens. But
Exactly.
over there, they just call them infiltrators.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then the other thing is, which is very, interesting, is that you give them a little bit of their own medicine, they try to, just like that lady said, they try to make us multicultural. They try to make this country with one race, just one race, which is like the brown race, mixture of all the. But guess what? They cannot even stand their own medicine that they give to the other nation for 1 second. Forget about, what did I just show you about a non-Jew getting married to a Jew? He could go to jail for 2 years. It's a punishment. It's illegal to do that. And they call us the racists. They call us, oh, you don't have the tolerance. We're going to change all of Europe. You're going to see lots of us. Really? Can we do that? How about we send, in group of 10,000 to 20,000 white people, Indo-European Aryan people with blonde hair and blue eyes to their country? How would they feel about that? This is how they feel about other races, like African races.
Well, they actually have, what I consider a healthy attitude, about immigration in their own country. They want to preserve their culture. They want to preserve their people.
No, I'm not.
But the problem, and I don't really have a problem with them doing that in their own country. The problem is they come into our country,
exactly,
run our immigration policy, and tell us, like, no, you can't have your own culture. You can't have your own ethnic group. You can't preserve that. That's racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diversity is our strength.
Yeah, exactly. Diversity.
Which is what the Jewish elite are actually the infiltrators.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, and not only are they trying to destroy the white race, basically, but it's easier for them to move around when there is multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Because they blend in so well.
Absolutely.
No one is going to look at them as the outsider when you've got races that are, much more different,
exactly.
In their presence.
Exactly. So, like Sam said, to piggyback on what he said, we don't have any problem with any race, be it Africans, be it Jews, be it Native Americans, keeping their own race. And actually I encourage that, because I really want to see other cultures, what do they do? I mean, I want to see what, let's say, Koreans do in their country. I don't have any problem with keeping their culture. I don't have any problem with Japanese keeping their culture and wear their kimonos and whatnot. I don't have any problem, because then later on I can see their culture which has been preserved. I can see the race which has been preserved. And that is actually, culturally and scientifically something very positive and good. Because you want to see that, you want to see the differences. Because,
right. It's good to have differences, but the only thing is we have to have enough space so we can have those differences.
Absolutely.
We can't be, shoved down each other's throats.
No. That's what I'm trying to say.
We can't even have those differences.
That's what I'm trying to say, because, Japan cannot remain Japan if, let's say, we send, I don't know, like Czech Republic into it and say, hey, from now on then you're Czech Japanese. You know.
You know what? And the Japanese are smart on this issue. They actually want to preserve their own culture.
Exactly, and there is nothing wrong with it.
Their own race.
There is nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I actually encourage that.
It's called Japan. Shouldn't it be for the Japanese?
Exactly, exactly. So same here with the United States. This is our culture, our everything, our history is Indo-European based. The founders of this country, right or wrong, you like it or not, if you don't like it, don't come over here. Don't waste your time and our time. Because, you know, if you don't like it, it doesn't make any sense to come into this country and trying to tell me what to do or what not to do. How to speak, how to eat, how to pray, how to do whatever, you know.
Right. This is a very big country. There's room for many races of
people.
You know, to a certain extent, there's room for many cultures. The problem is when they want to take away the culture of freedom.
Exactly.
It says, no, you can't have that culture of freedom anymore. You have to have our culture.
Exactly.
That's what the problem is.
Exactly. That's what, you know, we try to say, and we keep saying it until the penny would drop. You know, hopefully, you know, but
hopefully somebody gets it out there.
Yes, exactly. But what else do you have, Sam, for us today?
Well, I've got two more videos, but I guess if you want to look at the next one, that actually illustrates the point about how they don't want Jewish women in Israel to date non-Jewish men. And I will make a point real quick about the last video. I think that was 2011.
Okay.
So that was basically right before they started pushing the Islamic immigration.
Exactly. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's even more interesting. That's I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we try to, you know, bring the information that is unusual, is unconventional, because you can get, you know, conventional information which has been recycled so many times from anywhere else, from Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. But we are the independent media here, and we don't get money from anybody to, you know, bring you this information. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Let's watch this next clip together.
An Arab man is to appeal his conviction of rape by deception in Israel after having consensual sex with a woman who thought he was a fellow Jew. Sabar Kishore, who denies pretending to be Jewish, was sentenced to 18 months in jail. But as RT's Paulus Leo reports, even couples who knowingly choose to enter into an interfaith relationship are ostracized.
This Jewish Jerusalem suburb is surrounded by Arab neighborhoods. And far from cultivating a culture of tolerance, vigilante-style Jewish patrol groups, calling themselves Fire for Judaism, stand watch outside the local shopping mall. Their mission? To prevent Arab men mixing with local Jewish girls. The municipality has created a 24-hour hotline where parents and friends can phone to rat on Jewish girls breaking this taboo. A specially trained team of counselors and psychologists is on standby to rescue them.
It's important to safeguard our traditions, culture, history and identity, because without this, who are we? From my experience, I can say that the chances for a healthy relationship between an Israeli Jewish woman and an Arab man are very, very low. It's because of the great differences between these two cultures.
The most recent case involves an Arab man who posed as a Jewish bachelor. A Jewish woman agreed to have sex with him. But after she found out he was an Arab and not a Jew, she filed a police complaint.
The courts took the case so seriously that he's now being convicted of rape by deception and sentenced to 18 months in prison. The judge said he had an obligation to protect the public from sophisticated criminals who could lure innocent victims.
But reactions to the verdict differ.
I think the idea, if the woman want to do it, it's do it, no, they're no different. It's Arabic or no Arabic or something like this.
Usually Jewish girls don't go with Arab guys, unless it's a choice, you know. So there should be a choice. He didn't leave her the choice, but prison is too much, I think.
This is the way that this conflict is ruining our personal lives, that we cannot have relationships, that we cannot be just human beings.
Arabs make up a fifth of Israel's population, but relationships between Arabs and Jews are rare. Former Palestinian minister Ziad Abu Zayed says fights break out almost weekly in nightclubs and other public places over the issue. It's not religion, he says, it's racism.
There are Jewish gangs which are against any relations between Jewish girls and non-Jewish men. And they keep hunting Jewish girls, even those who can go out to a pub or to a restaurant or anywhere with an Arab guys, and threaten them and force them to break their relations with Arab guys.
In the 2 years Rami Rahib and Kelly Bentata have been together, they've never been physically threatened. He's Muslim, she's Jewish. But they're now thinking about leaving Israel because they say it's simply too difficult on other levels.
When my family found out, they were very adamant about cutting me off on every level for acting as a traitor to everybody and for being in Israel and making that choice.
Right now, Israeli parliamentarians are considering a law that will require prospective Israeli citizens to declare loyalty to Israel as a Jewish democratic state. Arab Israelis are furious. Most refuse to swear allegiance to a state they believe explicitly excludes and marginalizes them. Paul Islier, RT.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching The Echo on channel 21 and 811. This show is about a very sensitive issue, which is who is behind all this cultural and also financial destruction. Who is behind this plot? It's very sensitive. We could be called names, but honestly, we don't care anymore, because right now, this is the emergency, and what is more important to me is the livelihood of this nation. That was a great video. I'm telling you, yeah.
Thank you, Russia Today.
Which brings us to this, because they keep talking about, you know, when like Muslim, it's very interesting, because Muslim men can come to Europe and America, they can get married to beautiful blonde girls, but temporarily they should go back to their country and they never contact again this woman. Really. And it's okay, because they have, you know, another set of family sets, I should say.
Oh, okay.
You know, back home.
In their culture, it's okay,
yes.
right? Like,
yeah, but God forbid, it's not the other way around. A Muslim woman cannot get married to a non-Muslim, you know, man. You know, and you're not talking about, you know, when they're outside of their Islamic or Sharia driven, you know, country. We're talking about in a country under Sharia law, and you know, so again, surprise, surprise, there's lots of similarities. The only difference is that you know, Israel has, you know, kind of a lighter punishment for this, which is like 2 years. Well, he's surprised, but really compared to beheading the person is lighter. And I'm pretty much sure, like maybe, you know, if you know, they could have done it too, but you know, I don't know. I think compared to our culture and what kind of laws we have, is it still what? Very, very brutal. It's still very, you know, racist. Let's put it that way, you know. So that's another.
They want us to do as much mixing as possible, but when it comes to them,
oh no,
you can't date an Arab man, you can't date an African, you can't date this. But you know, they control our media. Take a look at what's pushed in the media.
Yeah.
You know, it's mixing left and right.
Yeah. So next time you say, oh, you know, don't talk about these kind of things, you know, stop trying to be this Mr. Nice or Mrs. Nice guy or lady, and once in a while be an asshole, because it's good for you. Believe me, being an asshole and telling the truth is a healthy thing to do. Because otherwise, you keep going that way, you keep going to this hellhole, and you're politically correct about it, and you keep saying, no, that's a good thing that you're going to that, hellhole, but there would be a time that you're in that hellhole and there is no way out.
You would have wished you had resisted. In fact, politically correct is a term that came out of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
And, a bunch of those people got put in gulags and, never saw daylight again.
Exactly.
That's the way this country's headed. And you hear a lot about the Nazis and what they did to the Jews in World War II, but you don't hear about too much what the Soviet Union did to their people.
Exactly.
And the Soviet Union was run by Jews.
Exactly.
And they killed tens of millions of people, far more than Germany killed.
Karl Marx himself was a rabbi.
Yeah, his real name was Moses Mordecai Levy.
Yes.
In fact,
how Jewish is that?
What's his name? Galloway. I forget his first
George
name.
Galloway.
Yeah, George Galloway. He mentioned that in one of our previous videos.
Yes.
There.
Yes. And Lenin, Mr. Lenin too, he was a Jew. If you didn't know, go and Google it up. What was his race? And most of their leaders, up to like Gorbachev himself was a Jew. Yeah, Gorbachev is a Jew.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
See, and this brings up another issue, is that there's lots of people who are openly Jewish, and then there's lots of people who are secretly Jewish.
Yeah.
And they're what are referred to as crypto-Jews.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's even...
And they talk about infiltrators, but that's a major source of infiltration.
Crypto-Jews are everywhere. One of the things that the Talmudic leaders told them was to hide their religion. Again, this part of it goes to Islam too. It's called taqiyya. Taqiyya basically is that when you are in a foreign land, you can pretend that you're a Christian, but secretly you're a Muslim. Uh-oh. Who is that kind of like that? Is it the president, Haji Hussein Obama? All right. So, it's kind of like that. They have the same strategy. What they do, like in many nations, they even, like I'm talking about Jews, they even pretended to be Muslims. Like in Iran, the previous president, Ahmadinejad, who is like very famous in West, he's a Jew.
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, is that?
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, yeah. He's real, his father, his parents were practicing Jews up to apparently 50s. They were practicing Jews.
You were telling me they weren't just like typical Jews.
No.
They were like Orthodox Jews.
Orthodox Jews, because they're weavers of the shawl, the Jewish shawl. And nobody can read it. It's like a priestly thing to do. So he's really from a priestly family, Jewish priestly family. And he kept saying he wants to destroy Israel. That was a funny joke. Problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic. But
that's a complicated system that we'll probably have to get into.
Yeah, we will. But yeah, that has we can't just say it in this show because it's lots of information.
Well, but I'll just put it this way: they can't. The people who run this world, they don't just go straight forward. They always have, what they're pushing for, and then they control the opposition. So they pull you both ways, but they generally shimmy you one way. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and so they keep you fooled, because you're going, if you're a conservative, so to speak, you're always rooting for the 1 step back crowd. But they always compromise with the left, so to speak.
Absolutely. It's almost like we said about the Kabbalah. They studied black magic, and that is really working with energy, but also they kind of work like a magician. on a show. They show this hand while this other hand is doing something else.
Yeah.
This is what they do. And while you're looking at this hand, they definitely doing something else that you don't know. So always pay attention. Always pay attention. If they're showing something on TV, it's available to you for free 10 times a day, there's something else usually going on that they want you to be completely distracted about.
Exactly.
You know.
I may talk from the control room, but I'm going to keep an eye on the time.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for.
And you too, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we have how long? 15 minutes left.
Is that how long we have left?
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We had a very unusual show today, and that's because Sam Lagulo is the producer, and he joined us. We don't have volunteers to help us, so he's doing everything. He's the man behind the scene, and also pick some of the videos, very useful videos. I wonder if we can run two clips. One of them is Demolition Man, and the other one is Gattaca. I want to talk about something at the end of the show. It's kind of interesting that how everything is interconnected, because they're. Let's watch it. Let's watch it.
John Spartan, there is, of course, a well-known and documented connection between sex and violence. Not so much a causal effect, but a general state of neurological arousal. And after having observed your behavior this evening and my resultant condition, I was wondering if you would like to have sex.
With you?
Mm-hmm.
Here? Now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Great! I'll be right back.
Love boat.
We're expecting you and love. Life's sweet. There you go. Let it flow.
Now just relax. We'll begin in a few seconds.
Begin what?
Having sex, of course. Contact.
Contact? I didn't touch you yet.
But I thought you wanted to make love.
Is that what you call this?
First sex has been proven to produce higher orders of alpha waves during digitized transference of sexual energies.
All right, Huxley, what do you say we just do it the old-fashioned way?
Ew, disgusting. You mean fluid transfer?
I mean, boning, the wild mambo, the hunka-chunka.
That is no longer done. The exchange of bodily fluids, do you know what that leads to?
Yeah, I do. Kids, smoking, a desire to raid the fridge.
The rampant exchange of bodily fluids was one of the major reasons for the downfall of society. After AIDS, there was NRS. After NRS, there was UBT. And one of the first things that Dr. Cocteau was able to do was to outlaw and behaviorally engineer all fluid transfer out of societally acceptable behavior. Not even mouth transfer is condoned.
Kissing's not allowed?
Oh.
Damn, I was a good kisser.
Oh.
All right, what about kids?
Procreation?
Yeah.
We go to a lab. Fluids are purified, screened, and transferred by authorized medical personnel only. It is the only legal way. What are you doing?
Breaking the law.
You are a savage creature, John Spartan, and I wish you to leave my domicile now.
In...
Irene.
Don't touch me.
Listen to me, Irene.
I don't even know who you are.
I'm the same person I was yesterday.
I can't hear any more of your lies, Drew.
Oh, my name is Vincent. All right, Vincent Anton Freeman, and I'm a faith birth or a degenerate, whatever you want to call it. But I am not a murderer.
You're a godchild?
But we do have one thing in common. Only I don't have 20 or 30 years left in mine. Mine is already 10,000 beats overdue.
It's not possible.
You are the authority on what is not possible. Aren't you, Irene? They have got you looking so hard for any flaw that after a while, that's all that you see. For whatever it's worth, I'm here to tell you that it is possible. It is possible.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching The Echo on channel 21 and also 811 and social media. Well, there was a reason that I wanted you to watch these clips. We were talking about the man behind the closed doors that have this Talmudic agenda, how they are dismantling our culture. One of the big part of our culture is preserving the core of the family. When you work hard on a farm, you have this agricultural culture too after a while, because you have sons and daughters, you have a mother, loving mother who's taking care of everything at home, and you have father who's teaching how to be a good farmer to sons, and the girls usually learn to be, good homemaker, But
yeah, healthy family.
Healthy
In fact, we have
family.
more time left than I thought, so.
Oh, good, good.
I'm back.
Okay,
we've got about
welcome
15
back.
more minutes.
Oh, good, good. I wasn't sure. So this is really, typical Indo-European, family.
It's a typical family almost anywhere.
Yeah,
I would
anywhere,
think.
but especially in
It's
the
a human
Europeans.
thing.
Yeah, it's a human thing, but especially in the European, because in Europe, what do? They farm, and so did in Iran. You go back, like the history of wheat or history of oats. domestication of wheat, oat, goes back to Indo-European. Like in Germany, they, for the first time, like they, actually bring the oat with themselves, because in that cold weather, that was the only suitable thing to, for. But then there is another culture that is based on not producing anything, but through this pseudo business, meaning buying something, creating artificial scarcity, and then slowly selling it for maybe sometimes triple times of the price, like, or keeping your, gold somewhere and not telling you that actually they don't have your gold, but they give you a receipt that apparently looks like you do have the gold. And that's how they made their money, but they also finance most of these pornographic,
the degeneration of the culture.
Exactly. And you wonder why, because they don't want the, young Indo-European have the real, basically procreation, have the real thing, have the real woman in their life. They started with pornographic videos and pictures. And then, so that was not a real thing, because, that was not a real family, that was not a real woman,
And this is more Derek's subject, but that ties into why they're pushing all this transgenderism and whatnot.
Exactly.
If you can't have healthy families, you can't have a healthy society or a healthy civilization.
Because family is the smallest, just like the smallest unit of every society, just like, the smallest unit in your body is what? A cell.
Yeah.
But if you take a look at the cell, macro is exactly like micro is exactly like macro. What's going on in your body is a representation of what's going on in your cell. If your cells are not healthy, your whole body is not healthy. And these Talmudic, scientists actually knew about it. So you wonder why they want to get rid of the family, because, like I said before, and, people got offended. You shouldn't get offended, because the fact of the matter is they want to make homosexuality completely normal. And, I don't look down at homosexuals. Whatever is going on in their head is their business. Right. Who am I to judge? If you're comfortable with what you're doing in your privacy, do it. But don't tell me this is a normal thing. Oh my God, today about, the shooting and stuff. See who is behind this, because the whole shooting and stuff is about now homosexuality. Completely is about homosexuality now.
And what I hear is that the trendy homosexuals aren't even talking about the fact that, this was a guy targeting homosexuals. They were not talking about Islam.
Yeah.
It's about, now we're going to get your guns.
Exactly, exactly. How they connect these things together, because, the Talmudic, scientists actually, they know how to really make you so distracted that you yourself would go, because they create this artificial problem. They seek your reaction and they give you the solution. Grab the guns. Also, you have no rights to talk about gay people anymore. Gay people are like the new Jews. I'm telling you, they're the new Jews. So I wonder...
The disaffected class that
exactly.
has been elevated. When in fact, there's always been homosexuals.
Yeah.
There'll always be homosexuals.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't
demonizing them.
I don't demonize them. But it's something that should be left to be discreet.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be something that's that's pushed in people's faces because, some people are going to be homosexual. Some people, I actually honestly believe some people are born that way, but,
sure.
A child should be raised ideally in a healthy heterosexual family.
Absolutely.
They have an example to look up to. It's
Absolutely.
a very instinctual, impressioning thing.
Absolutely.
That's the ideal, and to push homosexuality on them is just wrong because, that's part of the way of death.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not reproducing, you're dying.
Yeah. If you just imagine if the whole planet would have done a homosexual act, how do you even want, in 10 years or 20 years, there is no population left.
Right.
There is none. I'm telling you.
There's no way to celebrate the homosexuality because
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There was nobody produced from
exactly. Because, to continue what you were saying, I do have a gay friend. Mm-hmm. He's a wonderful man. And, I don't judge him. I don't know what's going on in his head. And I told him, I said, dude, you're a wonderful person, but I don't know. I don't understand it because when I look at another man, it's as if I'm looking at a fast car. I don't have any kind of feelings for that car, sexual feelings. I just might say, that's a cool car. Or that's a cool dude, that's all. That's all I think about.
You might have some admiration, but you don't have sexual
It's not sexual, it's not emotional. Right. But I asked him, why don't you have adopted a baby? Because he's got 20 cats, feeding 20 cats. Every time I talk to him, he's like, let me finish feeding the cats. I'm like, dude, if you like, these kitty cats, you probably like babies. How come you don't have a baby? How come you haven't? And he's living with his partner for 22 years. Mm-hmm. And this is what he said. You're not going to believe. He said, the only way and the only time that I'm going to do that is hiring a 24/7 nanny for that baby. And I said, why? He said, because a kid needs yin and yang energy. I cannot. We both are guys. There is no way we could even mimic a woman's love, a motherly love. There is no way. So that's why maybe he's hanging out with me because, despite the fact that I don't approve what he's doing, but he's got a little bit of sense and logic to say, hey, I'm an exception, and generally human being is heterosexual. And generally, we have been produced under, a heterosexual act, and two energies such as male and female got combined and reproduce us. Besides psychology, there is a huge, DNA and genetic information right there. So it's not just about psychology, it is scientifically a healthy thing to do. Now, we wonder why they're pushing this agenda. What is this real, when this hand is doing something, what the other hand is doing?
How dare you talk about homosexuals?
Exactly.
When the real agenda is just to destroy the family.
Exactly. They want to destroy the family. Why they want to destroy the family? Because then after that, we cannot reproduce human being in a natural way.
We can't even associate with each other in a natural way. If we don't even believe in men and women getting together and having normal relationships.
Yeah. They destroyed it completely. I mean, the Facebook and other stuff, even though I'm using it because I want to reach out. But really, instead of a man and woman going out and date the old-fashioned way, what do? They date Facebook, each other. And then the other thing is, after you cannot, if you have only man and woman, which is a new thing, cool thing, it's very cool. Then what's going to happen? you have to be reproduced, the next generation has to be reproduced in a laboratory. Yeah, we will have genetically modified kids. After they got rid of our food, the natural made food, and trying to give us this poop, also GMO food, what they're trying to do is...
Eat organic, people.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
So, this is the real agenda. They don't care about really gay people because they don't care about people.
No, they prop up certain groups that they can use to cause derision.
Yeah.
They can break down society with. You know, the people that basically they'll take any group that they think that might have some kind of gripe.
Yeah.
And they'll agitate them and promote them into, pushing for special privileges.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when, let's say like Kevin Trudeau is in prison now, but I totally believe there were certain things that he did and made them very angry. One of them was a question that why the level of estrogen is too high in our food. And he said it on his radio show, he said it on his books, he said it everywhere. He was warning us to stay away from this soy crap, plastic bottles, all of these things. And they really, unfortunately, today I have this, but ladies and gentlemen, I didn't have anything else with me, but usually I do have glass bowl. But today was really exception. Today is my gay day. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, he said that, and because of that, he's in prison. It's not about the, partially was the taxation also, because he tried to trick the IRS, which is a cartel, which is a foreign bank inside of our federal government.
And I'll just say this real quick, and then I'll head back to control room because we might. You know how much time we have left?
I don't.
Okay, so I'll just say this, and I'll head back in the control room.
8:37. Yes.
I'm looking at a different clock, but they're pushing this agenda not only culturally but chemically.
Sure.
Like you're talking about the plastic bottles, you're talking about the soy. If you're eating stuff out of cans, that's another.
BPA.
So there's all these artificial estrogens.
Sure.
That are transsexualizing us. Well,
exactly.
The estrogens make us, feminized.
Yeah, soft.
But there are also things like BPA, which not only turn men more like women, but they also make women more like men.
Yeah.
So it's a convergence of all these things. So they're doing it to us chemically, but they're also doing it to us culturally as a cover.
Exactly.
And encouraging people to get offended. If you mention anything about it, like, how dare you? You must be against me.
Yeah, you're Nazi, you're bigot. Like, no, I'm not. I do have, gay friends, and like I said, I'm very upfront about everything. I said, I don't approve what you're doing. I don't understand it. I'm a heterosexual person. However, I don't judge you, because what if I was born that way? Then how would you like that? I always, tell myself that. But I also have the rights to study the society and understand what the heck is going on, why the estrogen level is so high. Yes, in ancient times we did have homosexual and gay people, but why this number is going higher and higher, every year. And, so these Talmudic scientists that have the science of conning everything, that's why that, many of them are known as Cohen. It sounds like a, con artist. They